Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How much of your life have you given away just by reacting? Somebody cut you off in traffic, and now your whole day is ruined. Somebody talks behind your back, and now you're questioning your worth. Somebody disappoints you, disrespects you, disagrees with you, and just like that, you're pulled out of alignment. You lose your peace, you lose your power, you lose control. But I'm here to tell you, when you learn to react to nothing, that's when you begin to control everything. Emotions don't make decisions. Mindset does. That one truth, when fully embraced, can shift the course of your entire life. Emotions are real, but they are not reliable. They are temporary visitors that come and go like the weather. One moment you're up, the next you're down. If you let your emotions drive the wheel, you will crash into choices that you never meant to make. That's a trap most people fall into. They get angry and say something they didn't mean. They get discouraged and quit too soon. They feel afraid and never start. But feelings are not facts. They are signals, not commands. You can feel everything and still choose to move in a direction that aligns with your goals, your purpose, and your future. People who win in life are not the ones who never feel emotional. They are the ones who don't follow every emotion. They recognize the feeling, but they choose the mindset. It's the mindset that reminds you that temporary pain doesn't justify permanent decisions. It's the mindset that says you don't have to respond to everything that bothers you. It's the mindset that tells you to keep going even when nothing around you is changing. That kind of thinking doesn't come by accident. It comes through discipline. It comes through building a gap between stimulus and response. Something happens, and instead of reacting immediately, you pause, you breathe, you assess, you remind yourself of who you are and what you're building, and you act from that place, not from the emotional impulse of the moment. Your mindset is your operating system. It's the foundation of your decisions, and just like a computer, if your mindset is infected with unchecked emotions, every program you run will glitch. Your relationships will glitch. Your business will glitch. Your progress will glitch. Because when emotions run wild, logic shuts down. Your focus narrows, your world gets small, you start making survival choices instead of strategic ones. But when your mindset is clear and your emotions are in check, you have the space to see the big picture. You understand that just because you feel offended doesn't mean you have to act offended. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you have to retreat. Just because you feel pressure doesn't mean you have to fold. Developing a strong mindset means you don't let feelings become your facts. It means you stay grounded when everything around you wants to pull you off center. People will try you. Life will test you. Circumstances will come at you sideways. But your mindset is what allows you to respond with clarity and power instead of chaos and pain. The world doesn't need more emotional reactors. It needs more intentional thinkers. The more people who can experience the storm without becoming the storm. More people who can take a breath before they take action. You can cry and still be courageous. You can be hurt and still choose healing. You can feel overwhelmed and still show up with purpose. That's the power of mindset over emotion. And when you get to the place where your decisions are no longer controlled by your immediate emotions, but led by your long-term vision, that's when you start to take control of your life. That's when your direction becomes steady, your goals become reachable, and your peace becomes untouchable. Because emotions may visit, but they don't get to drive. You acknowledge them, but you don't surrender to them. Mindset becomes your compass. It becomes your anchor. It becomes the voice that says, I see how I feel, but I know where I'm going. If they can't control your reaction, they control your life. This simple truth holds more weight than most people are willing to admit. Every time you allow someone else's words, actions, or opinions to provoke you into a reaction, you've handed them a remote control to your emotions. You've given them permission to steer your mood, disrupt your peace, and throw you off track. That's not strength. That's slavery in disguise. Real control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself. Because the person who can get under your skin, push your buttons, and shift your mood with a sentence, that person owns a piece of you. And the more pieces you give away like that, the less of yourself you have left to live with purpose. So many people are walking around tired, anxious, and burned out, not because their lives are unmanageable, but because they're reacting to every little thing that happens around them. Someone didn't text them back fast enough, and now their whole day is ruined. Someone posted a passive-aggressive comment online, and now they're stuck in their head. Someone disrespected them once, and they can't stop replaying it. That's not living. That's being emotionally hijacked. That's handing the steering wheel of your life to people who probably don't even care. And here's the reality. You can't stop people from being rude, inconsiderate, ignorant, or jealous. But you can absolutely control how much of your energy they get to consume. That control is your responsibility. It's your power. And nobody should have access to it unless you give it to them. When you understand this principle, your entire approach to life changes. You stop trying to change people and start focusing on how you respond. You stop wasting time trying to win arguments, prove points, or get closure from people who were never meant to understand you. You start protecting your peace like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. You start choosing silence instead of screaming, patience instead of panic, and understanding instead of offense. You become less reactive and more reflective. And in doing so, you build emotional discipline, the kind that says, I decide how I feel today, not them. The reactions are natural, but they don't have to be automatic. You can pause, you can think, you can choose a different direction. That pause is powerful because it gives you space between the trigger and the response. And in that space, you take back control. You don't let someone's attitude infect your mood. You don't let a delay in your plans ruin your vision. You don't let disappointment turn into defeat. You become like water, flexible but strong, unmoved, yet still flowing toward your purpose. That kind of inner strength can't be faked. It's built through repetition, through awareness, through learning how to sit in discomfort without reacting out of it. So ask yourself, who has been controlling you? Who are you still reacting to long after they've moved on? What words, what situations, what memories are you allowing to pull you out of character? And more importantly, what would your life look like if you reclaim that control? If you learn to observe without absorbing? If you learn to respond instead of react? Because once you stop giving away that power, everything changes. Your confidence rises. Your focus sharpens. Your peace deepens. People notice that they can't shake you like they used to. And that unbothered presence begins to attract respect. You start living on your terms, not theirs. And that's where real freedom begins. Not in changing the world, but in refusing to let the world change you. Power is in peace, not panic. That's a principle most people overlook in today's world, where chaos is constant and pressure is nonstop. We're trained to believe that strength looks loud, fast moves, bold reactions, aggressive decisions. But real power isn't found in the noise. Real power is quiet. It shows up in restraint. It's in restraint. It's in the ability to remain calm when everything around you is falling apart. Panic makes you impulsive. It clouds your judgment. It pushes you into doing something now instead of doing something right. But peace keeps your vision clear. Peace keeps you grounded. Peace reminds you that urgency doesn't always mean emergency. It creates the mental space necessary to make choices that align with your values, not just your emotions in the moment. Most people think being calm means being passive. But calm isn't weak, it's strategic, it's intentional. Think about the most dangerous people in any room. It's rarely the ones yelling. It's the ones sitting quietly, watching everything, saying little, and moving with purpose. That's a person who has control. And control always starts with inner peace. It's not about what's happening outside of you. It's about what's happening inside of you. Because life will always be full of noise, unexpected problems, difficult people, heavy responsibilities, but none of that can shake you if you've trained yourself to protect your peace. There's something powerful about a person who can feel pressure and not fold. A person who doesn't jump to conclusions, who doesn't need to match every negative energy with more negativity. That kind of person becomes a force of stability in an unstable world. They don't need to prove their worth through panic or performance. They know who they are, and because of that, they don't need to defend it at every turn. That's where peace becomes power. It eliminates the need to react. It gives you the upper hand in every conversation, every conflict, every challenge, because you're not controlled by the moment. You're controlled by the mission. Peace gives you clarity that panic can never provide. In panic, your thoughts become narrow, your options seem limited, and everything feels urgent. But in peace, your perspective widens. You see choices. You see timing. You see opportunity. And most importantly, you see past the emotion into the truth. That truth becomes your anchor. It allows you to rise above the noise and act from a higher level. When everyone else is frantic, you're focused. When everyone else is reacting, you're responding. That's the separation between those who survive and those who lead. Those who master peace become the ones everyone else looks to in a crisis. Not because they have all the answers, but because they don't crumble under pressure. When you cultivate peace, you're building a foundation that external chaos can't destroy. You're teaching yourself that not everything needs a reaction. Not every challenge deserves a breakdown. Not every setback requires panic. You become someone who can walk through fire and not be burned because the fire is outside, not inside. Your peace becomes your armor. It shields you from emotional sabotage. It strengthens your discipline. It builds resilience. And over time, it makes you untouchable, not because life doesn't hit you, but because you trained yourself not to flinch. That's where your real power is. It's not in how fast you move or how loud you speak. It's in how calmly you carry your purpose through storms that were meant to stop you, but only taught you to stand stronger. Learn to observe without absorbing. In a world full of opinions, emotions, noise, and negativity, this one principle can protect your peace more than almost anything else. Every day, you are exposed to countless energies, some uplifting, some toxic. Some people come to inspire you, while others come to drain you. Some environments feed your growth, while others threaten your stability. The key is not in avoiding all negativity, because that's impossible. The real key is in training yourself to witness it without letting it take root in your spirit. When you learn to observe without absorbing, you stop internalizing what was never yours to carry. You stop mistaking other people's problems for your own. You stop letting outside energy become inside weight. Most people walk around like emotional sponges. They soak up every word, every tone, every attitude. Someone else is in a bad mood and suddenly their whole day is ruined. Someone criticizes them and it eats away at their confidence. Someone dumps their frustration on them and now they're heavy with feelings that don't even belong to them. That's what happens when you haven't built boundaries between what you see and what you take in. But when you become an observer, when you start seeing things for what they are without letting them change who you are, you regain your power. You learn to listen without reacting. You learn to witness chaos without becoming part of it. You learn to feel empathy without losing your own emotional clarity. Observation is a skill that requires maturity. It means being aware but not consumed. It means being able to sit in a room where tension is high and still stay calm. It means watching someone behave badly and not taking it personally. It means hearing criticism and separating the useful from the unnecessary. When you observe without absorbing, you are choosing to lead with consciousness instead of impulse. You're stepping out of automatic reaction mode and into a place of intentional awareness. You begin to realize that not every energy deserves access to your inner space. Not every mood you witness needs to shift your own. Not every battle that shows up in your day is meant for you to fight. This mindset doesn't make you disconnected. It makes you disciplined. It allows you to stay grounded when others are falling apart. It gives you the ability to pause and ask, is this mine to carry? Before picking up emotional weight. It teaches you that peace isn't found in controlling the environment, but in mastering your response to it. You stop taking everything to heart. You stop assuming that people's bad behavior is a reflection of your worth. You begin to see that how people act says more about them than it does about you. And once you truly understand that, you stop giving their chaos permission to live in your mind. Learning to observe without absorbing also sharpens your discernment. You begin to recognize patterns. You begin to see who uplifts and who depletes. You begin to notice how your energy shifts around certain people and in certain situations. This awareness helps you make better decisions. It helps you choose your circles more wisely. It helps you conserve your energy for the things that truly matter, because life will always present you with storms, with conflict, with noise. But when you train yourself to stand still and see clearly, you become the eye in the hurricane. Calm, clear, untouched by the winds that rage around you. You begin to carry your peace with you instead of searching for it in other people or places. You create an emotional filter that protects your focus, your spirit, and your direction. You learn to witness the world without letting it shape you, and that becomes your quiet power. Silence is the response that echoes wisdom. In a society that often equates noise with knowledge and reaction with relevance, choosing silence can feel counterintuitive. But silence holds a strength that words can't always reach. When you choose not to respond out of impulse or emotion, you give yourself the space to rise above the drama, the pressure, the misunderstanding. Silence isn't the absence of a response. It is the response. It's a declaration that says, I value my peace more than this argument, or my energy isn't for rent to every problem that knocks on my door. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all, because silence has a way of exposing what words try to hide. It reveals motives, exposes character, and protects your dignity in moments where speech might only make things worse. People often feel pressured to defend, to correct, to retaliate, but not everything needs a reply. Some situations don't deserve your words. Some people are looking to provoke you because your reaction feeds their need for control. The moment you respond in anger or defensiveness, they've succeeded. They've pulled you into their chaos. But silence takes that power away. It leaves the other person standing in the weight of their own behavior with nothing to grab onto. It shifts the energy. It makes them confront their own noise without your participation. That's the kind of power silence holds. It's not about weakness or retreat. It's about discipline. It's about the choice to stay aligned with your values rather than be dragged into emotional battles that only steal your time and energy. Silence is also a form of thinking. It gives your mind room to process instead of just react. In a heated moment, the loudest voices often say the least meaningful things. But the quiet ones are watching, listening, discerning. They are filtering what matters from what doesn't. They are calculating what needs to be said, if anything. They are preserving their strength for the moments that truly require it. Silence allows you to listen more deeply to others, to your own intuition, to the subtle truths hidden beneath the surface. It gives you space to make intentional moves rather than emotional ones. It makes your eventual words, when spoken, carry more weight because they come from a place of thought, not tension. In conflict, silence also teaches patience. When emotions run high, immediate reactions often lead to regret. But silence gives time for truth to rise. It allows emotions to settle and clarity to emerge. And in that space, you may discover that many of the things you thought required your response actually don't. You realize that people who misunderstand you are often committed to that misunderstanding, and no amount of explaining will change their perspective. You begin to understand that your energy is too valuable to be wasted trying to convince people who never wanted to understand you in the first place. So you stop, you grow quiet, and in that quiet, you grow powerful. There's also a confidence in silence. When you know who you are, you don't have to argue for it. When you're secure in your intentions, you don't need to prove them to anyone. When your peace is your priority, silence becomes your shield. It guards your energy. It protects your focus. It keeps you rooted in purpose, even when provoked. And ironically, the less you speak, the more people listen when you finally do, because silence creates contrast. It signals presence. It demands attention, not by force, but by control. The kind of control that doesn't need to dominate to be felt. It just is. Strong, grounded, unwavering. That is the echo of wisdom carried through silence. Real control is staying calm in chaos. It's easy to feel strong when everything's going your way, when life is smooth and nothing is testing your patience or your limits. But the true measure of control isn't seen in comfort. It's revealed in crisis. When life comes at you fast, when the unexpected shows up uninvited, when pressure starts building and emotions start rising, that's when your discipline is put to the test. Most people fall apart in those moments. They react, they panic, they speak without thinking and act without purpose. But the person who has learned to stay calm in the midst of the storm, that person owns a different kind of power. They don't just survive challenges, they shape them. They influence the outcome. Not because they control the situation, but because they control themselves. Chaos has a way of trying to convince you that you need to do something immediately, that you need to match its intensity, that you need to fight fire with fire. But that's not control. That's emotional surrender. Real control is refusing to let urgency rush your decisions. It's taking a breath when everything in you wants to react. It's choosing focus over frenzy, purpose over panic, clarity over confusion. That kind of control is rare because it's earned. It's not natural. It has to be trained moment by moment, choice by choice. It comes from learning to separate what you feel from what you choose, from understanding that your emotions are valid, but they don't always lead you in the right direction. The calm person in the room isn't calm because they don't feel pressure. They're calm because they've decided that peace is non-negotiable. They know that losing their temper or reacting emotionally won't solve anything. They've learned that staying centered gives them the power to see what others miss. In chaos, the loudest one usually knows the least. The calm one is the one who's already 2 steps ahead, planning the next move, calculating the outcomes, protecting their energy. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's strategy, it's leadership, and it's something anyone can develop with enough awareness and commitment. Remaining calm doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing to respond from a grounded place. It means allowing the storm to pass through without letting it take you with it. Life will bring noise, setbacks, unexpected losses, and difficult people. There's a guarantee. But how you show up in those moments, that's your power. That's where control becomes visible. The more you practice calmness in small situations, the stronger you become when big challenges show up. You train your nervous system to slow down instead of speeding up. You train your thoughts to look for solutions, not panic. You train your voice to speak when necessary, not just when provoked. This kind of control impacts every area of your life. In relationships, staying calm builds trust. In business, it inspires confidence. In personal growth, it creates the environment where change can actually happen. People notice it. They feel it. They begin to understand that you're not just another person reacting to the world. You're someone who moves with intention, even when the world tries to pull you off course. That calmness becomes a signal that you're not to be underestimated. Because if you can't be rattled by pressure, then you can't be easily broken. You carry your own weather with you. You walk into chaos and remain unshaken, not because the situation isn't serious, but because you know that panic adds nothing, while calm adds everything.
Yeah.